Welcome to Banting Heaven. I'm your Banting friend. Let's make some fish and chips, Banting style. So I decided to try out this dangerously slicing super sharp thingamabob. I got it from Take a Lot. I think it was about like $300, somewhere there. It's defeating me, as you can see. I'm trying to actually get my sweet potato to stick, but it keeps falling off. So when I eventually managed to slice it up, moved quite smoothly, but I'm still not quite used to this fancy gadget. But anywho, it did the job. So I sliced up my sweet potato into thin slices to roast in the oven, because I'm not a big deep fry person, and I don't think deep fry with olive oil is all that great. So I'm just going to pop them in the oven, season them well, and pop them in the oven just to get them nice and crisp for this recipe. Please, I beg, if you do have one of these, please be super careful because this thing is sharp. I didn't cut myself or anything, but I was so scared that I might just. But yeah, it's quite sharp, so just be careful when you're using this. Make sure you always use this protective shield thingy, and protect your fingers from getting caught in the blade. So yeah, just slice up your potatoes, sweet potato, into thin slices, and then get ready for the next step. So this has like 3 levels of thickness as to how you can slice it. I made mine this thick, so it can cook much faster in the oven, seeing that I've got a lot of hungry lions waiting for this meal. So after I sliced, I was ready to oil it up and season it. Alright, so then to prep your sweet potato chips, just add some olive oil or your desired oil. I use olive oil most of the time, so I sprinkled some black peppercorns for that heat. I actually quite like black pepper. It gives it a nice flavor to it. But anywho, I then added some pink salt. Just crushed in some pink salt. As well as some paprika. Always makes me feel like dancing. Paprika! Rika. Anywho, so just give those a toss and mix it well, just to cover your sweet potato thoroughly, to just give it nice flavor. I probably need a bigger pan or baking tray to just layer these, but try and space them out. I have quite a small one, plus my oven is quite small, so I'm still advocating to hubby to save up and get a new oven for the house. So yeah, so just try and layer them evenly as possible, space them out nicely. I'm like layering them on top of each other because I want to cook this meal on one go, but you need to layer it evenly on the pan and space it out nicely. So yeah, so I'm doing a cheat job here. So just try and get them all in the pan if you can, or maybe prep less sweet potatoes than I did. Any one of the two, but yeah. So just even layer them, and then you can pop them in the oven. So I've preheated my oven to 180 degrees. Yeah, so you can see I'm like removing some now just to space them out. I'm going to actually have to put them twice. So I'm going to cook this batch and then cook the next batch. All right, so next up I prepped the fish. So I bought some baby hake. I got this one from Food Lovers, frozen. So I just put it in the microwave to defrost. And just be careful that you don't actually over thaw it or over defrost it. I think it's best to actually leave it overnight to thaw on the countertop. But I took mine same day out of the freezer, so it was still frozen. So I just popped it in the microwave to defrost. Yeah, so just be careful that when you're defrosting, you don't over defrost because it'll end up actually cooking. Alright, so this pot is actually quite messy, so make sure you are ready to get your hands dirty. You're gonna debone the fish. I don't like fish bones, so I want to remove every single bone. Plus I've got little kids, so I've got a fear of choking on fish bones, even though they're like really tiny bones, but the fear is still there. So make sure you clean out your fish and remove the scales. This one had already been descaled. Is that a word? But yeah, the scales had already been removed. But just make sure you double check if there are any scales. You can't really trust mass production. But just maybe as a tip, something that I need to follow myself is make sure you do this with a very sharp knife. It makes the job so much easier. So I needed to actually maybe sharpen my knives before starting this. But anywho, I'm already here, so let's go on ahead and do it. So I just open up the fish, feel where the bones are, and just run your knife through there to just open it up and rip out all the bone. So I'm just ripping out the bones on all the fish and just deboning it bit by bit. I think best to get a kitchen tweezers or tweezers that you haven't used to individually pluck out all the bones, because you don't want to be chewing up any bones on your fish. So try and handle your fish with care and be as delicate as possible so you don't break it into pieces. So you just feel where the bone is exactly and just kind of run your fingers around it to split it from the flesh and bone, and just carefully pull out the bone. So as you can see, I'm just running my fingers and trying to pull out all the bones and fins off the fish without taking off too much flesh, because we still want to enjoy some meat on this thing. So just try and be gentle as possible and get off all those fins. We don't want any of that. And just gently pull it off without wasting some fish there. It's quite a process, so just make sure you have enough time on your hands. I'm literally like pulling out each bone by bone. So yeah, if you are like me and don't like bony fish, then this is the way to go, I guess. Or you can just already buy the ready-made deboned fish. But I feel like food tastes so much better when you prepare it fresh and from scratch yourself. Oh, that's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm a cheapskate. I don't like spending too much money.
Hi.
So I'm just running my fingers through to loosen the bone from the flesh, and then you'll just easily pull it off. And again, just be quite gentle. So just be really, it's a delicate process, so just be gentle in pulling out the bone. So yeah, that's basically how I debone my fish. And then I'm going to lie that flat and repeat the process with the rest of the fish. Quite easy, isn't it? Easy peasy? Yes? No? Lemon squeezy? Alright, so once you're done with deboning your fish, next you're gonna make the crumb for your fish. So I'm using heba. This is actually my first time making this. So I'm using heba to crumb my fish. So I'm just gonna sprinkle it on this tray where I'm gonna crumb my fish or dip my fish or coat my fish. English, it's defeating me. But anywho, so I'm gonna coat my fish on this tray. Yes, I think I got it. Crack 2 eggs and then whisk them. So I'm gonna crack these eggs. And just whisk them real quick. So maybe just for extra tangy flavor, I added some Dijon mustard as well into my egg mixture and just whisk that in there. Alright, so next I'm gonna add some seasoning to my crumb. So just wanna crack in some salt just to flavor it nicely. Add in some cracked peppercorns as well. So I'm gonna crack it in there, not too much. You don't want to overwhelm the fish with too much spices. I'm gonna sprinkle some peri peri as well. I like it a bit spicy, but not too spicy, so I'm just gonna sprinkle some peri peri in there, not too much. I usually hear that fennel pairs well with fish. Well, I googled it. I once bought the spice. I wasn't sure what it was actually for. I tried it with everything else, didn't taste so great, so fennel pairs well with fish. Add a little bit of thyme as well. And sprinkle a little bit there, as well as some paprika. No, me and the paprika. And then lastly, top it with some curry. So this is my Carb Smart curry spice. So next, just mix everything up together so you can get all the spices blended in well in your crumb. Just mix it all. To get the show on the road, just dip your fish on both sides in the egg mixture, and then you'll dip it into the crumb. Just try and coat it thoroughly, and then you'll place on your baking tray when done. So you'll just repeat the process with the rest of your fish. So you dip it in the egg, and then you dip it in the crumb, and then it's ready to roast. Alright, so once done, you'll just pop it in the oven, preheated 180 degrees for about 30 minutes. Should be done after 30 minutes. And yeah, it'll be ready to eat. And there we go, easy fish and chips in the comfort of your own home. Please like, subscribe, and tell your friends. Cheers, bye.